And I'm the little sister.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, we used to date. Beautiful time.
We ripped that in, you know?
There's like a set list of what
Nothing
you can
creative.
be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like anything creative was off limits.
That was a no-no, yeah. So I didn't know that was even an option for me, let alone be like a tattoo artist. So growing up, I was really sheltered.
It's like we've never received any hate in our entire lives from a spiritual person. Like, and it's the hate doesn't come from religion, it comes from the person, but it's always related back to a religion. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were inspired to follow your own. I can't think you guys were
Did they also change with the
No, they never changed. To this day. No, Egyptian parents don't really change like that. It's really
women giving life, and I feel like I've always had such a big issue with my period. Mm-hmm. I just hate, I don't know if anyone can relate, but like, it's oh really? Yeah, let's go. But yeah, it's just such a like.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 7th episode of the METAMORPHOSIS podcast with Noe and
Alexandria Rising.
Hey. Okay, so as you might have seen on the last episode, we have intros now, so I'm going to read you a little intro of our wonderful guest. So Alexandria Rising is an Egyptian visual artist and tattoo artist based in Toronto. As a visual artist, she's known for her powerful depictions of women embracing their sensuality. Her unique style combines realism and abstract elements, creating captivating works that evoke deep emotions. Now, as a tattoo artist, she's known for her sacred armor tattoo style, and her work is inspired by ancient and tribal markings. I love that. She's known for her ability to capture the essence of the human spirit through her work. We are so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you for coming.
That was a great introduction.
Was
I
it?
should have you with me at all times.
Thank you. I got a little nervous there. I was like, don't want to stumble over my words.
That was
Little hype
perfect.
man.
Yes. Okay, where do we even begin? We're just gonna have a beautiful conversation, see where it takes
I'm ready
us.
for you guys.
Let's
do
start.
it,
So
yeah.
how do we know each other?
How do we know each
From the
other?
start.
So we know each other through my friend who
Yeah.
happens to be M's best friend as well.
Yeah.
And
I'm the
my
little sister.
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
we used to date.
Beautiful time.
We ripped that in, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean,
I'm kidding.
it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's a part of the journey.
It's part of
I
the
mean, that's the
story.
only way we could describe
How
why
we
this
know each
journey
other.
is so important, and like seeing
Yeah.
where you guys are now. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you for
Yeah.
having your own podcast and for doing so well on TikTok, and most importantly
Thank you.
for living out your authenticity in a way that you inspire others and you spread positivity. So I think that's like super admirable.
Well,
And I'm so proud of you.
thank you. Well, right back.
And
at
like
you.
likewise, yeah, because even
Yeah.
like during the time that we like, it was a tough time like for both of us. I feel like there was lots of
Started from the
struggles.
bottom.
We started from the
Yeah.
bottom. We were just like, we had dreams, we had aspirations, and we were just trying to like work towards them. And so it's so nice that we're like
Yeah.
living out our dreams now. And
Literally.
like, yeah.
I
So
know.
say exactly where you're at right now. So
Yeah, it's crazy to see how much could change in such a short period of time because it's only been a few years. And
Yeah.
I feel like looking back now, we always knew what it is that we were destined to do and what we
Yeah.
wanted to do, but it's just like a matter of time that we found our path there.
Yes.
And we never knew how. Probably,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah. So speaking of the past,
Speaking of the past.
how did it start? Where did you begin? Where did you originate from?
Where did I originate from?
Like very
Well, maybe
beginning.
we'll do, because what we've been doing is, because you're spiritual.
Yeah.
We're spiritual.
Yeah.
And so, and not that every guest we have on has to be spiritual, but that's a huge part of our journey, living our authentic truth, embracing ourselves, trusting the universe. So, were you always like that?
Looking at me now,
Yeah.
and looking at my background and how I grew up and where I grew up, and most importantly, like where I'm from, it all makes sense looking back, because when I was younger, I always thought of myself as a rebel. I always defied what people told me to be, and I was the only girl out of 4 siblings, which are all boys. So I'm
That's
like
right.
the oldest one. I paved the path.
Yeah.
And yeah, growing up, I was raised in Saudi Arabia. So I'm Egyptian. I was raised in Saudi Arabia.
Were you
and-
born there?
I was born right when I came out of my mom's belly. They took me to Saudi Arabia and like built a life there. So I grew up there for 14 years.
That.
Oh yeah, so I lived in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia for 14 years.
Oh my god.
And growing up there, I went to a private school that was an international school. I lived in a compound in a gated community. So I was really like sheltered growing up, and all I knew what was around me and I was raised being told that's how you should be.
Yeah.
So being an artist was never an option. Being anything but like someone in the medical field or an engineer or anything like that, like a surgeon.
Like creative or
There's like a set list of what
nothing
you can
creative.
be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like anything creative was off limits.
That was a no-no, yeah. So I didn't know that was even an option for me, let alone be like a tattoo artist. So growing up, I was really sheltered, and I was raised in a way that I was just gonna do something more traditional in that sense, where you know what the outcome is. You know, you're gonna be making good money, you're gonna be set, so like
stability.
Finish school, get married, have kids. That was always what I was raised and told to be. And yeah, so when my family moved to Canada, I was exposed to more like a liberal way of living. Like women can be themselves, they can wear what they want.
Yeah.
You can express yourself in different ways, like from everything from like your taste in music, what you can listen to how you present yourself to the outside world. That was something that I was starting to see, and I was like, oh, like there's all these possibilities. And I was also introduced to like what it means to be part of the LGBTQ community, which was a big thing for me because I never thought that
probably
was just like
non-existent in Saudi, right?
No, it
Like
was something that people didn't even talk about.
Did you even know that existed before you came to Canada? Wow.
I think it was just like maybe I saw something about lesbians one time, and my mom was instantly like, "A sin, you should.
Absolutely
this is disgusting. Like no one should do that." And I was just like, I didn't know that was an option. Because ever since I was a kid, when I was a child, like I would want to be friends with like the pretty girls in my class, and I would want to hang out with the girls. I never really like related to boys in that way. I was more of like a tomboy in the sense that I played in the dirt with guys, but I never looked at them in a certain way. So
also you kind of had an idea, maybe like subconsciously, that maybe you were attracted to women.
Oh yeah.
But you never had a chance to like express it.
I wasn't brave enough to do it because I knew the consequences were gonna be bad. Like I would be disowned by my family.
Oh my god.
So yeah. So that's.
But also another interesting piece is that your family's Christian, right? Mm-hmm. You grew up in Saudi, but like Christian.
Yeah.
That's also, I feel like that's very interesting.
Yeah, what was that like?
My dad was on a work visa. He was working as the sales and marketing manager of a pharmaceutical company. So he was there on visa, and when the work visa ended, you can't just stay in the country. You have to go. Yeah.
So when you moved here, was it almost like culture shock? Like were you like what did you feel? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was introduced to like being a skater. That's when Avril Lavigne was in. I was a skater girl.
Shout out to Avril! Oh my god.
I started skateboarding. I started listening to emo music and metal, and I was just
dove into the deep end. But was it so? It was a positive culture shock, or were there any like not negative sides, or were you just like thrown off? Like what? Like was it all positive?
I was
like, there's
bullied
so much freedom?
really bad for being quiet and different and new. Like nobody really like when I first came, I didn't really have many friends, and a lot of people bullied me really bad in high school and in elementary school.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and so that was like probably the negative side of things. Yeah.
But the positives were like I can listen to the music I want, I can express myself how I want. Now how was that? Because now you have all that freedom, but I'm sure your parents were still maybe coming from that more conservative mindset. Like was there any conflict there where your parents were still telling you like, no, don't wear that, don't listen to that music, that's still wrong, but you were just rebelling? Like did that create a divide, or did they also change with the
No, they never changed. To this day. No, Egyptian parents don't really change like that. It's really hard to get them to change their mentality. Yeah. They're like really set on what their beliefs are, and they stand very strongly by it.
But I feel like that takes a very strong soul, a very strong person to like continue to just push the norm and really express yourself the way that you want to. And the fact that you're still doing that today, even though your parents haven't budged at all, like that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it was really the pivotal point, I guess, was dating you in a way, because Yeah, because before I dated you, I'd only like had toxic relationships, and when I was dating my ex before you, who was actually an artist, she wasn't really like encouraging me to do art and stuff like that because she didn't really want. She felt like she had more of like a competitive vibe. But then when I dated Emma, like she really pushed me to like do art. Like the first galleries I had were with you when I started painting. That was like the beginning of my painting journey, and you really like inspired me to keep it going. And like just seeing people's reactions to my art when I was starting to do that, I was seeing that it was something that I had to offer, because I always felt like my creativity was something that I could be of service with, and like sharing my art was something that I felt like people can look at my art and they can resonate with the message that I have to send without me even saying anything. And I thought that was like pretty big, because at that point I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was just making things, and like people were like, "Whoa, like that's actually like cool." So it made me want to do it even more.
It's amazing.
And for me, it was more therapeutic because I was going through a lot at that time, and to have a release as art, like I just really felt like it was something that I was doing for myself as a way of like coping with what's happening around me. And with every piece, I just felt like I was growing a little bit more and more with each piece, because I was like shedding parts of myself.
Almost like healing.
It was healing. It was really healing. And I recommend it to anybody, like to this day, like anyone who's going through something where I was like, you should set up an art corner. Like not even necessarily like painting, like sculpting, or like anything that you feel called to do.
Anything creative. Yeah.
So how did you discover that part of yourself? Because I've seen your art. Maybe we could put some pictures. Or, like, it like, resonates with me when you say like it touches you. Like she like the.
Well, you have it posted on your Instagram, right? Like some of your art pieces. So definitely we'll put her
your
ad there. Go check out some of her art. But
it's unique art. Like it's like things I feel like I've never seen before, and it touches you, and you could tell there's like emotion or some like a story in it. But how did you discover that? Like, what was the first time? Like, did you draw when you were younger, or like?
I did. I used to doodle a lot. I used to like write lyrics all over my notebooks and draw stuff that I was feeling. And I used to journal when I was a kid. I was just more like doodling. I never thought anything of it. I didn't even think I was like capable of making something actually good or worth something.
Aww.
Yeah. And then from when I started painting to now, my art has changed so much. But I feel like now I'm coming to a point where like I actually feel like what I'm creating right now reflects me more.
Okay.
It's really like emotional and like passionate, and like a lot of my art is like a depiction of women in very like sensual and sexual and emotional, like even sad states. Yeah. And I'm really drawn to the feminine energy. I really think it's like really beautiful that women are able to be like so nurturing and so loving, and like so like the emotions, that fire, it just fuels my work, you know. It's just like my creative
fuels our lives.
Well.
But that's really beautiful. So painting is like your bread and butter. Like what, like you used to doodle and stuff, but was there a point, like was there that moment? I'm just picturing like that moment you picked up your first paintbrush, and it was like did you have a moment where you discovered painting specifically and you're like, this feels right?
Yeah. I can't really like pinpoint when it was specifically, but I think it was like around the time that I painted that moon that I was like getting really messy with
the
it.
moon. That's the one that I'm talking about with the it's like all the colors, and then it's just the gray moon.
Yeah, that one I just like went fucking nuts.
That was
like
the one you gave to me.
We still have it, I think.
We put that up on my grandpa's when my grandpa was in the home, the old age home for like 3 years. We had that picture.
Yeah. That was really beautiful. I was.
My mom loved it too. Like we were just talking about that before. Like she sent a video, or I think I might have sent it to my mom, and my mom live reacted to the because my mom's an artist too, and she
doesn't really do it, but she's
not like a
really
practicing
good
artist
drawer.
Sketches. But
one thing interesting, because I didn't know this about you, but did you do anything with words? Like you said, you were songwriting or poet.
Yeah, not be a poet, but like I never got to. I used to have a page called People as Poetry.
I remember that. I remember that.
That's how we like met on Instagram. Like when Joe introduced us, you were People as Poetry.
I remember that in Esriskala, and then People as Poetry.
Yeah,
I remember that.
It's so funny how like you know people by their Instagram handles too. Like,
oh my god, that's so funny. Yeah. So that page, I used to shoot women actually in like sensual states and like do
Oh
art
yeah, you
nudes.
photography as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do like art nudes with my friends all the time, and I would write poems based on the emotion in the photo.
Yeah.
So that was like the starting point. And now like looking back, actually, like the type of photography that I used to do was like really like sad and moody. And that's the exact same thing I have with my art right now. It's like sad, moody,
so it's tapping into
emotional
something
women.
there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I just had a random question, but I'm curious because like I think the commonality is like you're just a creative. Like whether it's your words, whether it's like getting behind a camera, whether it's tattoo, whether it's painting. Where do you think creativity comes from?
I think everybody has creativity inside them. It doesn't matter like what medium you use, as long as like you're releasing it into the world. Like the moment where you're zoned out and you're focusing on something and you just get lost in it, and it feels like something else, a higher power, just takes over your body, and then you're creating something, and then you kind of snap, kind of like when you're driving and you're not really
actually
paying
driving.
attention.
Yeah.
I'm like, where was I in the past, hour until I got to my destination? It kind of feels like that, and then you step back and you're like, whoa, what? I just made that. It doesn't even feel like me, but that's a state where it's like more of like a
flow state.
Yeah, but it's also like you're getting downloads from source to create something and give it, and that's why people resonate with it, because they see it and they think, wow, that's how I feel, because it's kind of like tapping into the collective vibration.
The universal
connecting
consciousness.
people on a different level, basically, versus just talking to each other. And there's so much in people's brains, but when you see something, you feel something.
Yeah, because we're all one, really, and we're really tied together in a circuit of just the collective
energy
exchange and consciousness. And I think that that flow state is more of like a higher power that takes over you. It's not really you that's creating it. It's what you're here to give to other people.
I love that. And the work that you have to do is getting yourself to the point where you can allow that to happen, whether it's going and picking up a paintbrush with a board, or going, whatever it is, to the skate park and taking yourself there, and then let your body take over. So you were in high school, you got bullied, but you knew inside that maybe you were different, like you liked women, but you were trying to figure out your sexuality, but then you also, like, you didn't have any tattoos at that point.
Yeah.
So, like, what was the point from going through, like I guess, high school? What was the next step in the journey?
I think a really pivotal point in my life that really changed everything for me was at a point I felt like I lost myself. I didn't know what I like anymore. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what my identity was anymore. And I just felt like everything was just wiped out, and I was trying to find or remember what it is in life that I loved, and what was me, and what was a representation of like my purpose on this planet. Because when you really don't have a purpose, or you feel like you've lost your purpose, you don't really have a motivation to get up every day, right?
It's so true.
So like at a point in my life when I felt like, okay, like everything has been wiped out, like I need to start all over, like what is which was around a time where I was working 9 to 5 at a flooring place.
You know what? I remember
At a
that.
high-end flooring place. I was working as a brand and marketing manager in the design and decor district, and I loved my job.
Yeah, you were in a good position because it was good for your strengths and talents.
Exactly. I really loved my job. I loved my role. I loved the industry. I loved the design and decor industry.
What was your role? Just so
I was a brand and marketing manager at the time.
Which
was to do like everything from like social media to like photography to like going to properties that we install floors in, to do like a photo tour or talk to clients.
Brand,
I also sold floors. I did everything.
Yeah, you're a floor expert.
You own your own business.
Yeah. So basically, I ran the whole business, but I was underpaid. I was underappreciated, and my boss was like just not the best person, and I didn't really like working with him. So that's the reason why I ended up leaving the job, because it was just draining me. I was doing too much for so little. And at that point, I had just quit my job, and my friend Stacy, shout out to Stacy DePont.
I know Stacy. Hi, Stacy.
She is an amazing human who is also like my one of my best friends, and also my business partner. For 4 years, we did Tableau Creative, which was the first business that we started together. So like me and Stacy always had a collaborative relationship. We used to do photo shoots together and like do like galleries together, things like that. and we worked really good together.
She's your friend from high school, right?
She's someone I knew from high school. We actually had never spoken in high school.
Yeah, okay.
No, I think I talked to her twice.
Wow, it's crazy how that happened.
I was just thinking that, yeah.
We had so much in common. We had similar
after.
swag, similar like taste in music. She loved photography. We just never really like
It just
talked.
wasn't the time.
Yeah. We admired each other from afar though. We really kept up with
You
each
were
other.
each other's fans.
Really from afar, yeah. So
Your souls probably knew at some point we're gonna do something together in the future. Let's just keep an eye.
in
And like, you knew
hindsight, or
something-
like the dots did connect.
Yeah.
She's someone that I really think that she impacted me in a lot of ways, a lot of positive ways. Like, so at that time she had just quit her agency job as a developer, and I was the brand and marketing manager. So
You had
merged
both sides.
forces. We're like, it's either now or never.
I love this.
We merged forces. We started a creative agency, which was Tableau Creative. And we did things differently. Like, we really wanted to be unconventional and do, because she worked as part of an agency and I hired agencies to do the work. I saw a lot of gaps and holes that we could have done better and differently, and really wanted to be more like people, not like just
money.
like locking people into contracts that are
Yeah.
unreasonable and just like draining them
Yeah.
for their money. It just didn't feel right. So
Yeah.
we started Tableau. We did really great for 3-4 years, but during that time I obviously was like still painting and I would stay up all night painting and like show up to my meetings really early, and I was just like, you know, I felt like I had two loves going at the same time, and I wanted to nurture both relationships, but in the end of the day, a lot of the time you got to be like 100% with something, you know what I mean, to get somewhere. So one promise that we gave each other from when we first started Tableau is that if you ever feel like, you know, you want to pursue something else or do something else, we can just have that open discussion and like talk about it. And at the time when we had that discussion, I was telling her I was in Egypt. I did like this whole soul searching trip. I was gone for a year after.
We're
I forgot.
We're diving into
I wanna
that.
hear- I
We're not just gonna
remember
brush over
that.
that piece.
Yeah, I saw some of your videos just climbing through the mountains, and I'm like, oh my, that's like
Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
It was
Okay,
beautiful.
yeah.
So wait, what was
You
I
had
saying?
the agreement that if you wanted to.
Yeah,
step
so
up-
when I had that discussion with her, I won't jump the gun, but like when I had that discussion with her, she was just, you know, she was expressing to me that she also felt as though it was time for her to pursue something else, because she had a lot of expenses with her new tiny house built, which is like Casa Duro on YouTube as well. Like, check her out. She's really
No way.
a
Well, I
really
didn't even know that,
good
but-
advocate for tiny house living and living minimal. So
Oh.
not no overconsumption, no overweight, like producing waste
Using
and,
too much
and
stuff.
stuff like that, and always really being mindful of like the kind of things that you order to make sure that it's not coming from places or companies that are using child labor or
Right.
anything like that. She likes to like support artisanal handmade stuff a lot of the time. So like she just like told me like, that's okay, you can pursue your tattoo dreams, which was when I decided when I was gonna come back to Canada, I wanted to get an apprenticeship and do tattooing. And then, yeah,
How did you decide that? How did you know you wanted to do tattoos?
I always wanted to do that.
You did?
So
You always
that, like, when? What, like in
forever.
Saudi Arabia?
No, I didn't know that was an option. That's like maybe I would say my first like girlfriend relationship, which at the time was like a serious thing. She was a tattoo artist, so I was around it a lot, and I would like see it and think, oh, I could do that, and I already had a vision of like how I wanted to do it.
Wow.
So I would just pick it up
Wow.
and like do it when she's not looking.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I would fuck around with it and tattoo my friends with her stuff, and then that's when I knew I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you had that in the back of your head all throughout all these different pursuits, like even with Stacy and stuff, like that was always there.
Yeah.
And then at 4 years after Tableau, you were like, okay, now's the time.
Yeah.
Like how did you come to the realization and decision that's like, now I got to go full force on this? Because that takes a lot of
Yeah.
courage.
It's
and like,
honestly, especially because if you build a business with someone, it's almost as though you're going to a union, a marriage, and you
to
build
break up.
something. Like, you raise this company, and it's so sentimental, and you've had a whole journey to lead up to that, you know? So in a way, it was breaking it to her was so difficult,
Like
and
a
I thought
breakup,
about it a
basically.
lot. I had such
Yeah.
bad anxiety, but I just felt like at some point it felt like I was kind of like forcing it. It felt like I was having a lot of resistance towards it, and I didn't know why. It was almost like my soul was telling me like, it's just not what you thought it was going to be, and the journey to it, it feels a little bit more like you're putting more effort in than you are. I used to work 24/7, like literally 24/7, be at my laptop, you know. So yeah, during my travels, I had a partner at the time who really like inspired me in a lot of ways to do like better for myself and like to really like chase my dreams and pursue the things that made me happy. And he was really supportive at the time, telling me like, you know, like if you need any like support or like help, like I will always like just be there for you, like you know, make sure that you get to where you want to go. And having someone just like reaffirm, the moment that really like made me realize is like when he said, you're not happy doing this. Like I could see like when you're going into your meetings, like you have a lot of anxiety and like you're just like resistant when you're like starting to work. I just don't feel like, I feel like you should pursue tattooing and art because that's like what you're really good at. And I was like, fuck, like I know.
It's like a whole different thing when someone else sees it and tells you.
And it's also someone that I really like look up to too, because he's doing a lot of amazing things as well. For me, it also had me for the first time like lean into my feminine, because I was always in my masculine, like in survival mode. When I was in Canada, I was always like, you know, working really hard and like being in survival mode. And then when I went to Egypt, I started leaning into my feminine mode, or like allowing him to take care of me, and like, you know, like for us to like have adventures and stuff like that. Like I felt like I was becoming more in my feminine, and I was nurturing that side of me, and which goes hand in hand with like creativity, is like, because as a with the divine feminine spirits, you are creating, you are like co-creating with the universe, you know?
I mean, I'm learning the same thing too myself, to like embrace my femininity, and my whole other journey is separate and different, but like still more leaning to the masculine, but like even just learning to embrace like my period.
And how has that impacted you?
A lot. I feel like the easiest way to put it is that I feel like I almost lifted, like, or not even lifted, like a switch has flipped, and I just feel like more confident or more comfortable just being. Like I feel like I was trying to like be a certain way just because I thought I had to be, and that was just more like masculine. But once I kind of had my own realizations, and we talked about that on another podcast too, but like just switching that flip to be like, flipping that switch to be like, like I have to embrace this feminine side. It helped me just kind of be more authentic. Like I just feel like there's no boundaries to like what you can be and not be. So I don't know if that made sense, but
no,
like,
but
I just feel more comfortable with myself.
Because I feel like even as like masked lesbians, like we didn't even notice it, because I'm just like, oh, we're girls, so like we must just be like being, but like we feel societal pressures too, probably to show up a certain way, and maybe to be a bit more like, and to neglect that feminine side. But like it's so interesting. I never thought about it till she started learning about that, and that even affected me. I'm like, yeah, I guess I have been doing that, and a lot of times you just want to show up a bit more masculine, but like we have a feminine side too that.
Knowing
it's
that it's
integrating
okay.
the two. Everybody has a masculine and feminine.
Knowing that it's okay to like express both, and then same thing with what you're saying.
Well, I know it's your podcast, but like I'm gonna interview you too.
I know. I was like, go ahead,
because I think that this is
a
really good story behind how you discovered that you were neglecting your divine feminine side, and maybe you can tell the story of how that happened.
I mean, like, I could do that for sure. So like I think in general, well, this is a lot of stuff that I actually came to light for me from seeing my recent therapist. So this is all stuff that I never even thought about. I was just kind of going about my life, and then she kind of brought to light like the fact that there is this other side of me that is being neglected, and she picked up on it. She's a spiritual energetic healer, and so she kind of like looked me in the eye and like kind of just read my energy, and she was like, there's a masculine energy at play here, but there's also a very strong feminine presence, and like I feel like there's a strong emphasis on the masculine side, obviously from how I present and just in general, but like there is a feminine energy that is not really being kind of expressed. So take with that what you will, but so what I kind of took from that was like there's a lot of aspects to it, especially like growing up queer and gay. Like it's the world is actually a little bit of a harder place for you. You have to kind of put up a bit of a tougher image because you're not just like everyone else. So that kind of leaned into the masculine side a little bit more of just like being a little tougher and trying to like not let things get to me, and maybe shoving my emotions aside a bit because some of them are hard to process, and a lot of those emotions are strong, deep I'm not even feminine. Not that masculine and feminine has to do with emotions, but just I would say that's a part that I also suppress.
I think society makes it seem like men can't express emotions, but women can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I kind of started to identify more with my masculine side, the emotional aspect kind of got pushed to the side a little bit too. So and then a whole other piece of that got us on this tangent was the part about like women giving life, and I feel like I've always had such a big issue with my period. I just hate. I don't know if anyone can relate, but like it's oh really? But it's just such a like the fact that it has to happen every month and it's so painful and you just gotta bleed and it's just
how do you see it now?
So I brought this up to her, and what she shared with me is exactly what we were just talking about. Like it's actually it's a different way of looking at it, that your body is preparing to give life every single month, and the amount of energy, creativity, power, everything that exists with that, it just had me see it in a whole different light, that like there is a lot of power that comes with that, and maybe I'm just not tapping into that power, and I need to look into that power and the ability to love so deeply. I do know that I have that, but I probably don't lean into it as much as I probably should, and so it's there's all these other aspects that I'm so excited to explore. But anyways, that's kind of.
How about you? Have you explored your feminine side?
I feel like probably, I think I've been maybe a little bit more tapped into it naturally, like in comparison to the two of us, because when we were femme, like I think I embraced that a little bit more. Like I always loved like makeup and like doing my hair and this and that, but never like it never resonated with me. But I like that creative side of it. But I've always been a lot more emotional and tapped into my emotions, and I'm very, very sensitive. I'm a Cancer rising, so like I'm like very emotional. So I feel like I've been tapped into that side. But what's interesting is I feel like the recent parts of my life exploring relationships, I think that's where that came out a bit more, and that's where I felt a bit more of the pressure to show up a bit more masculinely and like neglect that feminine side and not want to talk about my feelings too much. I don't want to seem too sensitive and too emotional and this and that. So I never even recognized that until I'm like having therapy through her. She's recognizing that.
It's a 2-for-1 deal.
Second-hand therapy.
It's a buy one get one free. But what
Girl,
at least she's not paying for it.
No, at this point she probably should be paying now.
Girl, I edit this, so that's the payment. But what's interesting is we actually, so you probably know better than most people how we fight, and because we're both Sagittarius, we're both fire.
They fight really funny.
Funny for you.
Funny for you.
Yeah. For us.
We're not talking for a month. It's not funny.
Yeah.
No.
Third party people.
What was interesting is we were talking to a friend very recently, and they're also very spiritual, very tapped in. Shout out Fox and I love you both so much. We had like a therapy session with our friends, and we were almost like live fighting in front of them.
And
then
you should do that on live TikTok. I feel like people love that, yeah.
Tune into our fight tonight. But
ding ding ding.
What one of our friends said is when we fight, and they just observed it that night, but we're just showing up.
I was there.
You'll probably see it today at some point. We were showing up with our masculine energy. Like when we fight, it's like armor's on, ready for battle, and we just bring in that masculine energy. And what she said was so powerful is, you need to tap into your feminine energy, especially when dealing with each other. She said, for example, when you're dealing with your mom, and your mom is bringing her feminine energy, like you don't fight with her like that. Your soft side comes out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But like when we deal with each other, because we're both so used to just relying on our masculine energy.
We're channeling our dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, that's a very
not
good
even
idea.
channeling. We're defaulting to what we learned from our dad and what we saw how our dad kind of led conflict.
Yeah.
So I think that is a whole other thing to unpack.
But that was just interesting, that my realization lately has just been how I show up, like I do want to bring out that feminine energy more, like when needed, and Okay, wait, because I still want to go back. I mean, we'll just go wherever the conversation takes us, but I'm still interested because are you the only spiritual one in your family?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm interested in, because especially, again, like just growing up in maybe a more conservative, literally country place, but then coming here, How did you discover that? Because I'm always interested in that point, because everyone has a different means, but there's usually some type of trigger that pushes you to that.
Yeah, like knowing that there's something more to life, like a deeper...
Like a higher power, like
think,
everything you were saying, the universe,
everything. I think being raised as a Christian, like a Coptic Orthodox,
it doesn't have to be a moment too. It could just be like...
it is a moment actually.
Oh.
So I'm just trying to like remember back to what it was. But I think it was, you know, like growing up, I was only raised to be like Coptic Christian. And then I lived around in Saudi Arabia around a lot of Muslims. So like I was exposed to both religions. But then in grade 11, religion class, it's in Catholic schools. They teach you about Buddhism, Hinduism, and they teach you about all of the religions. And I was like, whoa, I really love Buddhism and Hinduism because I love the fact that it's more about you, your insides, about like meditating, about like being grounded, about coming to people and being of service and being tapped into the collective consciousness. I found that very more admirable, but also like more
it resonated
more about
with your
you.
soul.
Yeah, because it's about you being a good person, and if you're a good person, then you make the world a better place. So for that, like we went to a Jewish temple, and we went to like a synagogue, and we went to a Hindu temple, we went to a Buddhist temple, and I really loved Buddhism. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a Buddhist now. And I started learning more about it, and then the more I dove into that, I started learning about Ayurveda. I started learning about like all these different things and discovering spiritual healers and people like that, and I was really learning from a lot of different sources and then forming my own beliefs, because at that point I was like, okay, I don't believe it's just like one or the other. I think it's like every single religion has something great you can learn from. And then I thought about me, like what my service is to the world and what my purpose is here. And I just thought, you know, it's all about being a good person. And at the end of the day, if you're a good person and if you're doing good for others, if you're standing up for what's right and like fighting for justice for the other people and for really like taking care of one another and just like nurturing the relationships that you have in your life, I think that's what's important, because that's what the world needs. And then if you do that and everybody does that, then we're all making this world a better place. So
what was standing out to me when you were sharing that though is like it's interesting that like we kind of had a very similar realization process, and I think the similarities are like seeing that, you know, a lot of people are raised with just one religion. Your parents are this and this is what you are, but you were genuinely in a situation where you had one religion but then you saw another one, and that kind of also helps you open your mind to be like, wait, there's not just one truth. There's a whole group of people that think one thing is true, a whole group of people that think another thing is true. Why can't there be like your own idea of that truth?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna like turn that back over to you guys. What was something that, because I don't know if you guys know, but your dad is Muslim and your mom is Christian, so being raised with two religions, what have you taken from both religions that inspired your spirituality today?
That's a really good question.
Well, I would say the first thing is interesting because it seems similar with you, like even just having world religions, learning there's other out there, and maybe there's so many religions, you're like, wait, that must mean not one is inherently true. So growing up, Catholic mom, Muslim dad, we just kind of, like, I think if we had two Catholic parents or two Muslim parents, maybe we'd just be a bit more conditioned to be like, this is the way, but we're like, you're saying this is right, and you're saying this is right. But then you add the added dimension that we are both very gay. And so growing up, and I think I always knew that was a part of me, and you could say you're a part after, but like, if this is how you felt, but it almost turned me immediately away because I knew, because of their religions, that was taught that's not okay. And so immediately I never resonated with either, honestly, because I was just like, you're telling me I'm wrong. I know this is how I was born.
And you're not hurting anyone.
I'm not hurting anyone, exactly. But yeah, basically like that is, so honestly I would say, I don't even think we got to the point where either resonated with me. I immediately was like, you're telling me I'm wrong. You're wrong. So I found spirituality, but what I will say though is the part that I love about all religions is faith. That's what we still carried on, and that's why my mom, my dad, all of us are still able to have a conversation, is we use God Allah, anything synonymously with the universe, and we still believe in a higher power.
And your dad says universe too, and your mom relates to it as
exactly.
universe.
And it's funny because
our dad says Allah.
No,
that's what
our mom says God.
No,
but we say the universe.
But
we all know what we mean.
Well, sorry, what I thought you were saying is they're starting to say that too. I don't know if that's what
yeah. Are they starting to say
They
that?
are. So it's funny because they still will speak kind of spiritually.
But not in the same
more than
context.
No, in the same context.
Oh, okay.
No, because we now share our spirituality probably even more than they share their religion with us, and it resonates with them too. Like they believe in energy. If you put out good vibes, you'll have a good day. If you're negative, bad things will happen. And so they do say too. Oh, look, the universe did that. Like they'll still say that. In fact, I'd say anyway.
I love that for them. They're so progressive and like they adapt.
Yeah,
they're trying.
I hope my parents one day believe in the universe.
I mean, I think
they're like you're crazy.
Or manifest it.
Yeah,
the universe is on your side.
That's what I was gonna get at. Is like I think that's the strength. Is no matter what the religion is, anyone who has faith. Like I see my grandma. Like when she's going through, really tough times, losing her husband, all this, and just relying like it's okay. I know
will
God.
take care of me.
God will take care of me. We'll take care of him. And then any time we go through a really tough time, even myself, like I've had some times where I'm just like, this is beyond me. I feel helpless. Like, please, universe, like whatever's out there, like help me. And just putting something, up to a higher power, and it does help. So that's the beauty that I see with any religion. It's just having faith.
Yeah.
And that's to answer your question full force. She kind of said the exact same thing, but like the fact that every religion has that faith, that higher power, that belief. Like when all things are shitty, the worst things possible can happen in humanity, in life, like wars, terrible things. There is something to still hold on to, and that's the only part we took. And that is spirituality. Yeah. Knowing that there's a higher power, there's a universe taking care of us. But with religion, we learned there's a lot of rules that come in place. If you're this, you are not accepted. And unfortunately, like Noe and I, like even now, we experience a lot of hatred as a result of religion. So people are using their religion at the same time to tell us we're wrong, tell us we're bad. And it's in the name of, God and Jesus and Allah that they come at us with these negative...
But that's not religion. That's people projecting onto other people. And it's people really wanting to use their faith as some sort of like a weapon. Because if you really preach what Allah says or what Jesus says or whatever, it's love one another.
It's not that, exactly.
It's not...
But that's the part that we have problems with religion is like it still has the power to polarize some people.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's up to people to know that like religion and what how people use religion is different.
Yeah, I agree.
The people are the problem.
It's not the religion, it's the people.
We got a comment, someone saying like hate does not come from the religion, it comes from the person.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's always because like again, our mom, she's still a devout Catholic, goes to church every Sunday, but she can also love her gay daughters. Like she doesn't mean that she has to like. You could take what you want from the religion.
Exactly.
But what I think Am is saying though is like, and I relate to is like, there are still some guidelines that any religion imposes. Like this is like that's how you know what faith you're following. But to us, spirituality is just the faith, and you live it on your own terms.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Don't hurt people.
Don't hurt people. Like you were saying, like just be a good person.
They're hurting people by going after people.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not out here as spiritual as we are. We're not in anyone's comments being like, spirituality is the way. You have to be spiritual. We're not preaching that. Like it makes.
And
me
you're not
happy.
telling people to be gay either.
Exactly.
You're just showing that you can be happy being yourself.
Yes. Yeah. But I think
not
maybe
anyone.
just like again, what you're saying is like we've never received any hate in our entire lives from a spiritual person. Like, and it's the hate doesn't come from religion, it comes from the person, but it's always related back to a religion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like spiritual people who are just so concerned with just making the world a better place, doing what makes you happy, being a good person. Never once are they like, being gay is wrong, doing what you're doing is wrong, unless you're harming someone. Right? Yeah. So anyways, how did we even get here?
No, yeah.
I think that's a great place to be.
It is. Any questions or no? I have one more.
No, go ahead.
In light of that, because our whole
really good.
Why is the mic not plugged in, bro? Are you kidding me?
Maybe we don't need a mic.
We'll just have the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Okay, well, are we doing all of that again? Girl! So sorry, everyone.
Was that my fault?
For that last, yes, girl.
Well, you could have helped.
We're living and learning.
For that last 10, 14 minutes, you might not have heard us, what we were saying. But you might have seen the visual. Hopefully you heard what we were saying. So anyways,
Bougie's rolling her eyes.
In light of being yourself,
Uh-huh.
because that's one of our messages. Our message is to be yourself, to do what makes you happy, to spread love. If someone is out there, they're kind of far from themselves, because you mentioned that, like, you just didn't know what you what you wanted, or you lost sight of who you really were, and it felt confusing, and you didn't know how to get back there. What advice would you give to someone who is struggling with that? Like, I don't really know who I am. I feel so disconnected and lost for myself. What advice would you give to someone in that position right now?
Just have some time to yourself. Get to know yourself. Get to know what you like, what you don't like, what you believe in, what you don't believe in. And, like, try to journal a lot, because I feel like those kind of things, they kind of change over time. And when you are journaling it, it's in writing. So you're able to, like, go back and analyze what you feel and why you feel that way. And then in that experience, you'll know who you are.
Yeah.
And then when you know who you are, and then you see outside factors that are impacting your ability to live out your full truth, just try to make sure that you're standing by that authenticity and, like, knowing yourself, and stand strongly by it, because everybody has something special to offer the world, and nobody has what you have to offer to the world. So if you have something to offer to the world, just try to make sure that no one takes that light from you, and no one tries to control that narrative for you, because when you live out your truth and you're being of service to other people, and when you are providing to the world what no one else is able to provide, then you'll know that you're here for a reason. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the time in that journey to knowing who you are, a lot of people want to take away from you or try to control what your purpose is. And nobody has that ability except for you.
Yeah.
So just try to know yourself first, and then come to the world by offering who you are to the world.
I love that. That's
I
amazing.
love that. All right, guys, thank you for watching episode number 7 of the Metamorphosis podcast with Am, Noe, and the beautiful Alexandria Rising.
Woo! Be yourself.
Do what makes you happy.
And spread love.
And
morph into the real you!
Our first cut. Gosh, cheers. It's going to be a great episode.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So then you...
Let's cut this whole part out.
Okay, yeah. And on that note, so I'm going to cut it here. Wait, because we're going to say... I know.
Bitch, way to throw a brick at me.
I know.
Nice kisses.
Let's do what makes you happy.
Wait, what's my line?
I love the episode of...
Thanks for watching.
No. Then...
We did it. That was great. Good job, guys.
Cheers.